Hello, I'm Nathan Judo. I'm here with Wolves reporter. It is Mr. Liam Keane. Liam, it was cold, it was windy. I'm delighted I came back from Barbados for this, I tell you. Wolves won, Sheffield United 0. Most important thing, 3 points, but not a classic as predicted.
No, as predicted. The most important thing, as you say, 3 points. Wolves up to 8th in the Premier League, above Newcastle, who of course they play next weekend. Oh. There's a big FA Cup tie on Wednesday. It's a big week for Wolves, and they started off in the right way. They are well and truly in the hunt, in the mix for European football. There's a lot of football to go, a long way to go to make that happen. But to have won this game,
saying that though. Exactly,
to saying that is a remarkable achievement in itself because of where Wolves are at in the summer. But of course, to have started this, as I described earlier in the week, a season-defining 7 weeks for Wolves. It takes up to April 13th, and they play a lot of teams that Wolves would be expected to win against. And expected is the issue really, because they come up against Sheffield United, who are not doing well this season, are not a particularly confident side, particularly good side. We've been brutally honest.
Awful.
And Wolves, they allowed them too many opportunities, and particularly in that first half. And you know, if there was better finishing, you know, they could have easily been ahead. Sheffield United, and in the end, it was Wolves that took the lead. And after they took that lead, the second half very lacklustre, very negative, petered out. But they got over the line, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it is. Undeservedly so, I think.
Yeah,
I think they were the better side. They were the one who had intent. I think Wolves played a high line, got caught a couple of times. But like you say, they should have shot second half. And I think just looking over, there were a few decent performances out there today. There were a few people who were quite quiet. You know, Pedro Neto, I thought, was quiet today. Wang Yi-Chang was quiet. Of course, we had an injury scare before the game as well, but he played 90 minutes,
near enough
90 minutes. So good news there. But at the same time, like week in, week out, there's another person who steps up. Last week, João Gomez comes and scores. This week, Pablo Sarabia. And this is about Gary O'Neill and having this small squad that even when you've got the likes of Cunha out as well, people are scoring. It's not just the same people, and I think that's maybe been the issue recently, is that if you're losing a talismanic striker or you're losing your main midfielder, there's not a lot of impetus there. But there are goals and people are contributing all over this team.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point. In the first half at Spurs last week, Sarabia I thought had a really good first half, took a really nice positions, petered out a little bit second half, which I think has actually been one of the things he's been most guilty of in the starting 11, is petered out of games. I thought he was pretty strong today. I do. It's not the kind of performance that is going to grab loads of headlines, it's going to blow you away, but it was certainly strong enough where I thought he was really intelligent, took up really nice positions, linked up really well with Smaila, who had another good game, and he took the goal really nicely. We don't expect João Gomez to score ahead of last week, and we don't expect Pablo Sarabia to score ahead of this week, but they popped up both in brilliant positions, and Sarabia's header really intelligent, really smart, just a lovely little glance flick from a lovely Aït-Nouri cross, by the way.
What a ball.
Really smart cross, and Nestle's in the top corner. That's all Wolves needed to take the 3 points.
Yeah, I'd like to say, look, Sheffield United are poor. I mean, look, they could have had a sending off themselves at VAR review. I mean, that would have been absolutely insane. But at the same time, just because they're a poor side, they can still make it difficult. They made it difficult for Wolves today, didn't they? It was never going to be a classic, and they've found a way. And I think we've talked about wins, losses, or wins against the big sides, and they go in a game that they're expected to win and they don't, or they even lose it. And I feel like today was almost a defining game. We said this in the podcast earlier on in the week. That's fine if you want to just tread water, and a lot of people will be very delighted about that at the start of the season. But if you want to get into Europe, if you want to get into that mix, you've got to win games like this. And the most important thing is they've got over the line.
And it's like a hoodoo, isn't it, of beating the teams below you, the teams that are struggling, the teams that are going to sit in, defend deep, make it difficult for you to break down. And as much as Sheffield United were wasteful with some of the opportunities Wolves, if we're being brutally honest, gifted to them, Wolves were also fairly wasteful. They had a lot of counter-attack opportunities, a lot of opportunities in space when Neto, who I completely agree was quieter today, not quite at it, and he got into a lot of space with the ball several times and didn't pick the final pass or the final cross or the final shot particularly well. So Wolves were also wasteful in their opportunities. In the end, it didn't count for anything. It didn't bother them because they got the 3 points, but that's going to be the next step for them. It's not allowing, it is to take one of these teams to the sword, put it that way. Because yes, they've got over the line, the 3 points is important, that's the most important thing today. And they've overcome that hoodoo, as I say, of beating those teams that are going to make it difficult for them. But you also have to put one of these teams to the sword one of these times. And doing it against Chelsea is brilliant. Of course, going 4-2 there is amazing. But if it was like that 21-22 season here, 4-0 win over Watford under Bruno Lage, it feels like Wolves are missing one of those kind of performances, one of those kind of days. And I'm hoping with some of the teams coming up that might be on its way.
Well, like you say, let's put the FA Cup to one side. You go to Newcastle next week. You've then got back-to-back games, Fulham, Bournemouth at home, before you go to that international break in Villa. So, you know,
and after that they've got Burnley as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got Forest coming up. That takes you up to that April 13th I'm talking about. They've got a big 7 weeks coming up.
And they've almost got a situation here now where if you win your home games, and you're going to lose some games, if you win your home games and pick up, you know, the odd points away from home or whatever, they're probably favourites to make European football, which is fantastic for them. Not too great for my bank balance, the potential barbecue, but you know, they are slap bang in this race. And I think Gary O'Neill, he won't say it now, but if they get, let's say, 6 or 7 points in the next 3, then I think they have to say that change their, at least what they're looking to do this season, I think, and that's great. But the most important thing is we're looking up the table, we're not looking down.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank God for that as well. No, a lot of these players, let's not be silly. A lot of these players will already be thinking of Europe. There'll be conversations being had. Gary O'Neill will try and limit it as much as he can and try and focus on game to game, and publicly will be very careful in what he says. But there's excitement building amongst Wolves, and there should be, because the job that Gary O'Neill has done is remarkable. The players have been excellent by and large, and you've got a really good core group of players here that needs adding, needs maybe a little bit of evolution rather than revolution. Some of the revolutions happen, maybe an evolution to come in the summer going forward. But what they've done so far has been brilliant, and it's not the most exciting, pretty game today to watch. It was not easy on the eye, but it's a win, and that takes Wolves into, as I keep saying, a massive 7 weeks and a massive week with Brighton and Newcastle to come.
Just looking at some of the players there now warming down, who weren't involved today, like Torreira, Fraser, Lamina, Hugo Bueno. It's a huge 7 weeks. Do you keep on playing? Obviously, Matheus Cunha, you know, is going to be still a little while longer, probably the best part of a month. Just keep on playing the same 11 until maybe one of them breaks down or it doesn't work, or do you give a couple a chance here and there?
It's a really tough question, and it's why Gary O'Neill gets paid.
Probably one for a longer conversation.
It's why he gets paid the big bucks to make these decisions. Right now,
not as much as you, lad.
No, that's a good point. Right now, for me, you keep playing this team, but there's certainly an argument. The likes of Bellegarde, who I think Gary O'Neill, in some questions that I've asked him in a press conference recently, has given a little bit of a rallying cry to say, look, come on, I need a bit more from you.
A bit like Sarabia, who look what you can do this season.
Yeah, and I think Bellegarde's the one that might hopefully step up in the next few weeks, the kind of player that we're going to see.
Maybe Tommy Doyle as well. You know,
Tommy Doyle was one that springs to mind as well. But you've got to remember, Wolves don't have a lot of senior options. Tawanda, Torreira and Nathan Fraser, I think, are very, very good young footballers, but they're young footballers, and you can't throw them in with this kind of pressure at this time. I think pick and choose their minutes, and Gary O'Neill's done that very well so far. So by and large, it's going to be this 11, bar a couple that get opportunities, and it's interesting to see how far that 11 can take Wolves now.
Well, they're doing alright so far. Wolves 8 in the Premier League, Wolves 1, Sheffield United 0. For all the post-match reaction, make sure you log on to expressandStar.com. No, it's fine. I'm not. We'll go because you can't do it.
It's a 1-0
win in Sheffield United. You can't go. Come!